Hi friends, it's Carisha from Carisha Lou Art and Designs, and today I thought I would get on here and do a few little examples. If you're just starting out in acrylic or watercolor and don't have the first clue how to paint at all, then I'm going to show you a very simple, easy way to just start out without thinking too much about it. So here I have some watercolor paper, and just because something says acrylic paper, watercolor paper, marker paper does not mean that you only have to use that medium on that paper. I use all kinds of stuff on acrylic paper, watercolor paper, mixed media paper, blah blah blah. So it's not going to hurt anything. And sometimes I'll do mixed media on watercolor paper instead of mixed media paper. You just never know. I just don't think too much about it because having fun and experimenting is the most important part. So what we're going to start out with is watercolor. And let me get my big palette. Okay. So, I have very simple palettes that I put together that are just these. I just take tubes of paint and make my own palettes. You buy these little things and put them in a little mint tin. Or you can buy big fancy ones like this. And these are my really nice paints that I use. So, same thing. This came with some of the paint pans full, and then I've bought tubes, little tubes of watercolor, and filled in the rest of them. Okay, so there's that. Now, I have this sitting here to show you the kind of paper that I'm using. Strathmore watercolor paper. 9 by 12, and I cut it in half. And it is 140 pound, 300 GM. I'll just set that aside. And first, I'm going to start with, I said the watercolors, but I'm actually gonna play around with these little water-soluble wax pastels because they're the easiest, funnest thing to play with, okay? So I've got these ones just sitting here, so I'll just start out with these. And what you do is you can just scribble. That's what we're gonna do. That's what I often do in my sketchbooks, is just scribble a little bit, okay? Like this. And sure, that doesn't look like anything special, right? And you can also mix them too. But anyway, so then I'm going to take this water brush. You can either take a watercolor brush like this, or you can take a brush that you put water in and squeeze, which I love those, especially for on the go. I've got several videos talking about those. And then we just go like this. See these watercolor brushes? They're beautiful, wonderful for watercolor. Even for this, it's working. But what I like about these ones, or like a firmer bristle brush, is that they really get in and you can really scrub with them. You can really, really scrub. So you can completely scrub out these lines pretty good. Whereas most watercolor brushes are very, very soft. Okay, so there's that. I'm just going to go ahead and I accidentally mixed some pink, but it doesn't matter. So if you do, I'll show you how to rinse your brush off. So just have a towel, and if you're using a water brush like this, then you will just squeeze or wipe off on the paper towel or a rag of some sort. And I guess I should have been saying, to paint on here, to smear this paint of any kind, you squeeze this little button. All of them are different, but they will have a squeeze point where you squeeze the water out. And it's just trial and error. You'll learn how hard to press it, depending on how much water you want to come out. But I love these. I do this in the car while my husband is driving. I take this to the coffee shop and do art at the coffee shop, the park. Mix some of this. Get a little messy. Okay, and then just wipe off here again. Now if we're doing over here, now we're going to go to some more color and do our watercolor. We're going to wet our brush real good. And then, well, if you're using this, you're going to want to mist some of the colors. So we'll just go ahead and squirt some of these. Usually I have a better mister than that, but this is a spontaneous video per usual. I'm going to take this color. That's pretty. Okay, and I'm just going to put it here. Ooh, that's called Opera Rose, I believe, and it is a very, very pretty, kind of like fluorescent pink. Very, very fun. Okay, and then you can rinse your brush off in the water. Always rinse your brush off. If you don't want to mix the colors or contaminate the colors, rinse your brush. If you want to get rid of some of the water, go like that on the side of the jar and pick up another color. I can't remember what color this is, but there we go. That's pretty. Ooh, and look at it mixing with that brown color. What was that? What was that crayon? By the way, these are called Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2 Aquarelle. Can't say that for some reason. And they're water soluble wax pastels. And this is raw umber. This one was yellow ochre. And the other one was pink. Just pink. All right, let's see. This was very pretty, so I'm going to pick up some more of that and bring it down here. Yes, I'm mixing them, and oops, I got some here, but that's a good way for me to show you something real quick. I'm going to take a baby wipe and see if I can wipe that up. If you didn't want to goof there, you could just take a baby wipe and gently wipe it up, and look at that. All better. Okay, so I hope that was a good demonstration of using these watercolor and watercolor soluble crayons, and to just mix water and, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I can't use two brushes at once. I just stuck the water brush in there. Anyway, I hope that was a good demonstration. If you have any questions, leave them below. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside for now. Another thing, always keep your brush wet. Whether it's water, acrylic, always keep your brush wet. This doesn't have to stay wet. This, you just squeeze a little water out and rub until it comes clear, okay? I just flung more color over here, fixed it, voila. Okay, but yeah, this doesn't have to stay wet because it doesn't have paint on it after you wipe it off. This, you want to swirl, wash the paint off and leave it in a jar. Also, very important. I should have wrote down these tips, but that's just not how my mind works. You always want to leave your brush in a thing of water so that the paint doesn't dry on it, but especially with acrylic. But you don't want the water to go past this part, because once it goes past that to the wood, then the wood will start to swell and warp, and this will come away from the wood, which I've had that happen several times, and I just super glue it back together. but anyway, if you don't want that to happen, just make sure that your water is not above that part. The ferrule, I believe it's called. Okay. And I did put a little bit too much water in there. So as I'm telling you not to do that, I'm doing that. So I'll just get rid of a little bit of water. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. And now I'm going to grab one of my watercolor brushes over here. I mean, not watercolor. One of my brushes that I use for acrylic. Let's see. Where's one of my favorites? I guess we'll use this one. Okay. Now, since we're done with the watercolor, I'm just going to set this aside because I don't want to contaminate this water that's going to be washing off acrylic onto this brush. So I'm going to go ahead and wash this. I'm not really going to. It's wet. It's okay for right now. I know I just said don't leave them out, but okay. I don't have time to go wash that right now. So now we are going to move on to acrylic. And we're going to just take our acrylic brush. And I like this one. It is a pretty firm brush. And you can just try out all kinds of brushes. It really is a personal preference. I'm particular about my brushes. So let's see. There are brushes that do certain things, but again, just like with the paper, you can get away with using different brushes. All right, so first you're going to get your brush wet, wipe off any excess water, okay? And then I'm going to take my favorite color here, which is Mars Titan Mars Pale. I always say that backwards. Okay, and then what I have here is actually a paint palette, a paper palette. I'll show you what this looks like as well. So this is a Strathmore palette paper, and it's got a smooth poly-coated surface. You can also use paper plate if you want to. You can use whatever you want. Or some people just go like this, which you don't want to do that if you're going to be dipping it into other stuff and contaminating it. But anyway, so I'll just set this aside because I'm probably not going to use it. All right, so this is the acrylic, and I picked up a little acrylic onto my wet brush. And now I'm just going to start laying it down any way that feels good. No rhyme or reason. I'm just going to do it, okay? And this is not professional teaching. I am self-taught, and I do what feels good to me and what works for me. So I don't want to hear anybody saying, that's not how you do that. To me, art is about having fun, experimenting, and not worrying about all the perfectionist stuff. Throw that out the window. Okay, now I'm going to take some of this white, and I will rinse this off. And then just dump it on there. Okay, this is actually gesso, and I'm gonna throw down some gesso here. I like going like this. I do this a lot in my art journal, especially when there's two colors that aren't completely dry, so that pink is still a little bit wet, and then I laid down this white, and then I kind of start just doing this semi-hard swirling motion, and it just smooths the paints out and kind of fogs them into each other. Not like completely blended, but just fogs it out. Okay, there's that. And then should I use this or should I use this? Okay, now let's say I don't want to blend anymore. You can take a hairdryer, or this is a heat it tool, Ranger heat it crafting tool, and you can just dry this. It doesn't take too long, especially if it's a really small surface and you did it really thin. I did a pretty thin layer. Okay, now I'm going to use some of this yellow ochre just because it's my favorite. And I'm just, woo, I didn't mean to do that much, but it's okay. You can also use your fingers too. One of the first paintings I did when I started painting again was actually a finger painting where I just smeared paint around really messily. And it turned out really cute. You can also use a baby wipe for this. This is another method. Like if you don't want. Okay, there's that. Put that in the garbage. And then you can also come in here with these. And do something like this. And start mark making. And then I'm just going to experiment here. And see if this will still blend. I'm not going to use a watercolor brush because I'm doing the acrylic, so I'm just going to go like this. Look at that. That's cool. It is fun mixing stuff together. That's why I love mixed media. Okay. Those I'm going to leave. Let's see what else. What other fun colors do I have over here? I do have this one. This is a milky white, and I love this color. I use it a lot. It's very pretty. You can also use palette knives. If you like this effect. Ooh, I like how that looks there. I don't like how it looked there, but that's okay. Might use a little more of that. That was very cute. And this isn't supposed to be a masterpiece. I'm just doing a little acrylic example and just coming up with stuff as I go. Things that I've liked to do and experimented with. Okay. But with that being said, sometimes something really ugly will turn out really, really cute in the end. Especially when it comes to just layering and layering. Okay, so now I showed you how to do that too. I'm just going to wipe this off. Get me another baby wipe. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to wipe that off with the baby wipe. That's good enough. So that was my favorite palette knife, but there's also this one where you can just go like that with your paint. And then there are things like paint pushers. This is a paint pusher. This is a paint pusher where you can, I think I might take some of this. Okay. And then go like this. And literally just like maneuver it around, push it around. Or you can just go like this, smear it, smush it. Okay. So those are called paint pushers. And then there is also sprayers that you can use. And how you're going to do this, I'm going to bring my paper palette over here to show you. And I think we'll do this white here. Go ahead and grab my palette knife. And we'll put down a little bit of white paint. All right, so you're going to take a little bit of this, and then you can just go like this. Oh, a little string. Get off of me. Get off of me. Okay. And when you're using a light color like the white or the beige and doing a method like this is called like pushing back, where if you think it's too loud or a certain color's taking over the page, you can just go over it with some white or off-white or whatever and just push it back a little bit. Okay, so there's that. Another fun thing that you can do in acrylic, because it's nice and thick, is take something sharp like a skewer and scratch into it. I don't have it too thick right now, but and when you're doing a lot of layers like this, it's also cool because when I did this here, it lifted up those layers underneath. So it's showing that yellow. See how cool that is? Down here, it's a little more dry, so it's not doing it too much. Oh, it is a little bit, so that's cool. Okay, that's an example of that. And then you can also, I think I'm going to dry this a little bit again. You can also take like an ink, like a Liquitex acrylic ink, or thin down acrylic paint, which you would just take an acrylic paint, put it in like a little tiny jar or a little palette with the wells in it and add a little bit of water to thin it out. But that's not what we're going to do. I'm just going to show you this easy way of using some, I think we'll grab black acrylic paint. And then this is what I mean by the little palette with the wells in it. So I'm going to take this and then I'm going to take a little brush that I had over here. Where did it go? Okay. There's this brush here, and I am going to, first I'm going to get it wet, and then I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm just going to start going like this. And this gives a fun splatter effect and adds some interest. And that is one of my favorite things to do. I usually do that step at the very, very end though. But let's see what else we can do here. I think a fun idea. Let's see how dry it is. Okay, we're going to take a dry spot and we're going to stamp, okay? Let me just go like this real quick again to dry these out. It's so funny how natural mixed media comes to me. I can't just concentrate just on acrylic. I had planned on just doing like a watercolor, like how to use a watercolor brush with watercolor, how to use acrylic brush and acrylic. Well, then I get off track and I'm like, ooh, let's play with acrylic inks and mark making and different tools. But hey, that's how my brain works. Okay, now I'm going to take some of the Sepia Archival Ranger ink. And there's actually a color called Coffee, but I don't like it as much. But this is kind of what I'm going for. You could do black and do like ink stains, but I am going to go with like a coffee stain. Like you set your coffee cup down and stained it. Look at that. Isn't that cool? And I like to go off the page with it like this. And then you can also do one like down here. Okay, so that was just another little example. What else do we have? I've got a homemade stamp here that I made with children's foam that you can find. I think I got mine at the dollar store. Okay, so I'm just going to take this stamp and I'm just going to stamp into the ink. And then I'm going to put this flower, where should I put my flower? I think I'll put it down here. Press that like that. That's cute. And don't ever worry if you don't like something, you can let it dry and go over it. All right, there's that. All right, let's see what else. I was thinking about maybe adding some of this. Let's see, let's see, let's see. Ooh, that's pretty. Okay, so this is Turquoise Deep Liquitex Heavy Body, which if you don't know anything about acrylic, then that doesn't really matter because that's something you'll learn down the road is the differences in thinner paints and thicker paints, basics and professionals. But turquoise, this color here, will tell you if it is a translucent color or an opaque color. It usually tells you on the back. And this one is translucent. That means whatever you go over is going to be a little bit transparent, which is cool. Oops, some of that black wasn't dry, that black ink. Okay, I don't love the way this looked, so I'm just going to kind of go like this. And because these black dots are dry here, I can just remove that because that paint is dry, and when acrylic paint dries, it's kind of plasticky. So sometimes you can just like go like this. Anyway, so there's that. So there's this little example, and I will get back on here and do more if people ask me. I've just had a lot of friends and family lately who are completely new to art. They're excited about it, but they don't know where to start. And I just want to tell you, just don't overthink it. If you have any questions, ask me. I have so many videos that have so much information on all kinds of stuff. But I hope this was a fun video. See, I don't love this flower here, so I'm going to go back in with probably this color. I'm going to put a little bit of this here. And let's see, which tool should I use? This one? Why not? So I'm just going to go over it. Let's see. Maybe some pink. And if it doesn't completely cover it, which that wasn't the greatest example because the brayer just kind of fogs it out, whereas this, using like a palette knife or something, would really take it away a little bit more. And because there's texture there now, this is doing something really cool. I like that. That looks pretty cool. Or you can just use your finger. That looks pretty cool. And anywhere you think that you need more of that color, you can just add it. Oh, I love it. It's so cute. All right, well, that's it for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I know this was kind of all over the place, but I guess that's just how my brain is today, and that's okay. I'm here, so I'm grateful. And thank you for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like my videos. So there's that one, and then here's the watercolor one. And the fun thing about watercolors is these blooms and how it dries. Very pretty. All right, have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.